Hey guys, how's it going? It's video time again. I got a little bit more work done on the single cab, and I figure I do a little show and tell. I hit that patch about 2 more times with some more of the hydrogen peroxide to make it rust down, and it seems like it's doing pretty good. It's starting to go a little bit from turning orange to more of a brown, which I like, and so I'll keep hitting that a little bit. It's my test area, so to speak. I concentrated mostly on the back, trying to knock out some of the stuff. Now they got the parts and pieces in, and one of them being the gas tank. Gas tank's installed. Got the correct bus sending unit in it out of a later bus. I still have to run a wire up to the front for the dash, and then at some point I will turn and get a gauge, probably at a swap meet or something, from a Beetle, and I'll put it up under the dash on the up front. And I took the stuff that you use for between a camper top and the back of a pickup truck. It's got like that one side is sticky foam kind of material. It's pretty dense, so I used that around the strapping and underneath the tank just to keep it from chafing. No sharp edges against anything, and give it a little bit of cushion. So those are in. And I set up for in the back, start setting up the air cleaner and everything. This is the original one I was going to go put in. I believe this was original to the bus. So I had it all mocked up, set up, drilled. I had a bracket hanging off of here from up above, and it was a exhaust hanger, the old school exhaust hanger. It looks like the side of a tire. You know, it's got the threads in it, so it would have some movement when the motor rocked. So I got that all ready to rock and roll. I was going to go clean it up, put some oil in it, and I hit it with the sandblaster. And as you can see, it just went to dust. So I had to go plan B and put a larger setup in there. Let's move this out of the way. Actually, I could probably show it right from the top. So I ended up, the later style ones are kind of a 2-piece, and they have like an intake section from the carburetor, and then they would have the actual unit that would hang, which you can see right here. And so I ended up going with that, and welded a bracket from the top here. That should be flush for the floor to come across. And then once the floor does go across it, I'll come from the inside and I'll weld this up from the bottom, because right now it's a little bouncy, you know. So I'll take care of that. And what I used for the boot to go in between, because everything that I had was rotted to death, is exhaust hose for running your exhaust out the door. And it's got the flex. It could take any kind of temperature. Not that that's really going to get hot, but it's you know, fairly good quality stuff. And then I mounted a voltage regulator there. It was further up. I had it mounted about right here. Of course, I had to change the air cleaner, which was larger, so I just relocated it back. And I just took the wires and ran around a screwdriver to make them a curly Q kind of spring. And after again, when the decking is welded on, I will take those and tack that stuff back up, and probably put some sort of holder from down below. But for now, just keeping it out of harm's way from all the welding heat that's going to be in there. Everything on the gas is set up. All the gas lines are run up underneath and to the carb. If I put gas in it, it would start up and run. It should start up and run. Everything is in place, batteries in place, etc. So trying to do as much as I can before I put the decking on and be locked into it. Today I decided I'd probably start doing some wiring, so I wanted to get into getting ready to put the 2 taillights in. And before I did that, I went and I waxed. First I cleaned all that section really well. I went over the rear gate again, and then the bottom was never done, so I went and I cleaned all that bottom off. And I had to start getting a little bit more aggressive the more I went around to this side, because this stuff is just pretty hard to get back to blue. It was pretty rough. I mean, you're looking at, you know, that's what you're working with. So I ended up actually using 180 grit, yeah, Norton 180, and I was wet sanding with that using parts washing fluid right out of the can. So I kind of wipe it down with a Scotch-Brite pad soaked in it, and then I would go back with the 180 and just did a bunch of wet sanding on it. You can see that whole bottom section down there. It's cleaned up about as good as it's gonna get. It's got a lot of paint runs and stuff in it, which I actually kind of like. one of my subscribers, Mr. Comatose. He was making a comment thinking that possibly a painter may have bought it first and bought it after the lumberyard and probably shot at the red oxide primer to cover everything, and the dribbles of the paint might be from him. So that is probably a possibility. I'm trying to see if I can see where, you can see right here, it does look like the paint is above the red primer, so that may have well been the case. Maybe a painter bought it, and that would explain all the runs that are on it. Alright, let's see if I can took all my rubber stops off too. But if you flip it down, you can kind of see where the paint runs continue down the side of it. And up top kind of matches what's down below. So it might have been like a staging truck for him doing painting on. You know, drive the truck right up, you can stand on the bed of the truck and paint. So I think you might be right, the more I think about it. And as you can see, the old muffler is off. That was a Beetle muffler, and they don't fit very well on a bus because a bus only has a outlet for one tailpipe, and a Beetle has two. So if you look at a bus, it's only got a cutout for one. It would usually kick out to the side and exit over here. I think I have some bus mufflers, I'm not sure, but that's okay. I also had this header, so I took this header set up and put this on there, as you can see. And the only thing that's wrong is it's kind of facing the wrong direction. Kind of a reverse ram exhaust. So I got to figure out how to come out from here and come around and run the muffler back out that direction and put the tire on, see where the tire is going to end up. And I got to try to figure out where the back bumper is going to be. I got to try to tie all three of those together at the same time and make clearance for them, you know. Unfortunately, I do have some mufflers. They're right there. There's a bunch of them stacked around the corner over there. Unfortunately, we have to wait for Mother Nature to whittle its way down so I can go and see them. Unless I want to put motorcycle exhaust on, but I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. So I cleaned it back up, and I ended up putting more wax on the system on it. Again, I'm trying to stay away from this lip because all this still needs to be welded yet, so I don't want to get anything up in there. But I did want to have it behind the taillights. So for this corner and that corner, I heated it up again and then took a brush and slopped it on and heated it with the torch and let it run down again. As you can see, some on the floor. And then I tried something else that I did on a better area that didn't need it as much, not as porous. What I did was I took the gate, I flipped the gate up and supported it with this, and then I kind of heated the gate with the torch and took the Scotch-Brite pads that are impregnated with all that waxy stuff, and I rubbed it right in to it and then kind of went over it with heat again, and it soaked itself right in, because it doesn't have to go on that thick. You know, you take 90% of it back off that you end up putting on. So I'm trying to get it without wasting it so much. Same on the bottom here. You can see where I did it. And it gives a nice like satin finish to it. And again, it's not oily. You touch it, it's really not oily. You look at that, if you go to touch the front, my wife came out, she was touching the nose of it. She was like, hey, you're right. It's not tacky. And I put a heat gun at it. The melting temperature of it is 200 degrees. That's when it starts to kick. So I figure you can kind of see like where I went around the corner right here. You can see your wet dry line. The light should kick on. But you could see, you know, the difference right there. So what I figured I'll come back and I'll demo some of this area how I like to do it. And I find it probably a lot safer and a lot less wasteful too. It's not all dripping on the ground. So I'm gonna go pop you in the stand and we'll give that a shot. nice. Yesterday it was like 50 degrees. Felt like it was 80. Everybody was out. T-shirts and shorts. You can tell everybody's got cabin fever. Not too close for you? I think something like that. Alright. Okay, so the three things I'm just using is, one's a Scotch-Brite pad that I was wiping the excess off, and then it got so filled with it that it actually ended up being my, I guess, install tool. And then a rag when it's all done after I heat it up. So first, I'm just putting some heat into the area. My best to keep it moving. I don't want to put a burn spot in the paint, you know. I could probably use a heat gun too. You notice it just heats that right up and melts it off of the Scotch-Brite. I want to stay within that top edge. I'll make a line right there so you feel the difference. I'm going to go back over it with heat. And that kind of lets it run into the pores. Wipe it off. So it just left as thin a layer as possible, but down inside those pores it's still kind of packed in, you know. Oops. So that's kind of like a before and after. And that should be pretty much how it stays, just like that. Hopefully the camera was picking it up. But now you can see. I did it pretty quick. A couple little spots I missed, I did notice. Like right there, you can kind of see. But you get the idea how dark it makes it. And then that should really stop it from rusting anymore. Before and after. How chalky that is, and then, you know, once it it richens it up and it makes the color really pop again, which is nice. So just imagine that going all the way across. And again, someday I'll get to come out in the sun and show it. This side's all still dry too. But it still needs to be done on this side yet. I kind of came around the corner a little bit right here. You can kind of see where it kind of fades out to it, you know. Not exactly a sharp line. I might take a turkey baster. I got a glass one, like a Pyrex. And I might try heating some of it up and sucking it up into the turkey baster and just feeding it right down into here. This is sealed underneath. There's metal behind it, and it's I forget what I used on there. I think windshield urethane is what's behind it, stuck together. So it's not like it's going to come dripping out the bottom, but I may just try feeding that right in there and using that as a shield for keeping it from rusting any further, and just to kind of keep you away from these sharp edges, you know. So they can't complain about when you go to inspection that you got sharp rusty metal sticking out of it. That's probably the worst of it, the whole thing, you know. And then again, the nose, which has been done now for probably about a month now, 3 weeks, something like that. And it seems to hold fine. Again, the wife came out, she was touching the front of it, you know, the other day. She's like, wow, that is dry. You can't feel anything on your hands. So we'll see what happens when it gets hot out. But even when I figure if it gets hot out, if I just keep wiping it down with a rag, eventually the outside skin of the paint is not really going to have much of anything on it that you're going to feel. But it's just down, and, you know, again, butter on toast kind of idea. Melts right into all the nooks and crannies. So if you're gonna get my lights in, get my gas pedal in, is probably the next thing I want to do today. I got to do a little bit of welding. I got all the pieces for that, and put a new throttle cable in. Once that is in, if I put the tires back on it, it should be drivable again, which is nice. And now it's cooled off, and kind of see. I think it's gonna look good. I like it. I like how that finish comes out. And the fact that it just saves it from future rusting, you know. Alright guys, well, I'm going to shut you down. And I'm going to go to Home Depot, get me some more wax. My thing is kind of low. And Mother Nature was good. It took a bunch of the snow away. I went snow raking for quite a bit. Knocking all the stuff down. I went from 2 feet, 2.5 feet that was on the back right there. That's down to about a foot now. If everything's a sheet of ice or mud. Alright, I'm wrapping her up. Take care.